Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday and welcome to this week's Beltane video. We're going to talk a little bit about crafts. And I want you to see this as a brainstorming session. I'm going to give you 10 different ideas. There's all kinds of instructions all over the internet for different ways this can be done. Or maybe you might just take the idea and run with it and then come away with a really unique creation that is all of your own. Regardless, if anything in this list inspires you, I'd love to see pictures of the results, and you can do that on our Discord at Blackbird's Brew. But let's get on to the ideas themselves. First, the classic Priapic wand, in which you have a wand that's decorated and you have an acorn or acorn shape on the top. This, of course, represents the phallus, which represents the fertility of the god. These are really super easy to make. You could get a fallen twig in your yard, or if you want something that's a little straighter, you could get a cake support or a dowel rod, something super skinny and manageable, just from your local store. I mean, you can find these anywhere you can find cake supplies, and then you can, wind some ribbon around it, secure it with a little bit of hot glue, make ribbon trails, attach the little acorn, maybe weave together, braid some of the ribbons, attach some charms. You really are limited only by your imagination. This can be very colorful, very playful. It wouldn't take that long to do. Once you had the supplies laid out, I don't even think it would take you 30 minutes, to be honest with you, unless you are doing this project with a group of kids, in which case that's going to take the time that it takes. But it doesn't take a lot of time, so it's not a huge investment there. These are not expensive supplies, so it's something that you can, add a little bit of oomph to the season, get the family involved if you want to. That isn't going to be breaking the bank. Now, for the next idea, a flower crown. What you can do is what you need is a material that you're able to twist together at the ends to where it's going to sit securely enough on your head. And there's a variety of different materials this will work on. I saw no fewer than 5 possibilities suggested when I was looking up instructions for this sort of thing. But once you have the base shape, then you can start taking, either real flowers if you're really good at this sort of thing. And if you're good at this sort of thing, you definitely don't need advice from me. But you could also get some faux flowers, and you can add different kinds of foliage. You can have the different colored flowers, whatever colors are really speaking to you this year, whatever flowers you want. Because if you're working with faux flowers, you have plenty of options. This is another thing you can put the ribbons on, attach different symbols to. It can be as simple or as grand as you want it, and you can wear it to your own Beltane ritual, or just have it around as decoration to just add a little sense of the season. Then we have the Maypole. Full-sized or miniature. If you have a full-sized flagpole that you're going to be pressing into Maypole duty, obviously take the flag down for that, show some respect. But then after that, you're going to need a kind of beribboned, possibly a floral circle from which all the other ribbons are going to flow down from it, and you'll need a way to attach it onto the pole. So there's different ways to do it. You can wire it up or use I suppose if you were really in a pinch, you could use those little pipe cleaner things to get it all attached. But probably you'll want something a little bit more sturdy, especially if you live in an area that's prone to being very windy. But you want plenty of ribbon, more ribbon than, I would say, about twice as much ribbon as what your pole is tall, just to be on the safe side. That way, if you do have a dance around the maypole, people are able to weave and dance and go over and under and have a good time with that. That's the way, so the pole is, nicely beribboned and it looks beautiful, and it's a fun activity to do. However, if you're like me, and you don't have such a thing at your disposal at the moment, what you could do is to have a little miniature maypole. Again, you would be wanting to get out the dowel rods. You'd probably want a piece of foam or something sturdy that you could attach the dowel rod to that'll be secure. And what I did is I put the dowel rod into a round of floor's foam. And then what I did is I attached moss to it with a glue gun, and then from there I put a miniature little nest on the top of the pole complete with a little birdie, and then I tied some ribbons on it and spread them out, and it just looked like they were ready for some fairies to come around and do the dance around the maypole. So again, this is another thing where you can really exert a lot of your creativity. Now, a flower basket or maybe a very special wreath for Beltane. That's something you could absolutely do. What I would suggest is just notice what kind of flowers are typically in bloom in your area during this time of year, and see if you can't get some of those, either real ones or getting the faux kind if it comes to it. Even dollar stores have decent-ish faux flowers. So if you are needing to watch that budget, that is absolutely a possibility for you. But look for the colors, look for the kind of flowers that typically, and it doesn't have to be a formal arrangement. I am not one who is prone to making terribly formal, structured floral arrangements. I take things I like best, I randomly stick them in, and I just work with it until I like the result. And sometimes this is a very easy, intuitive process, and then sometimes I'm working on the wreath for about 3 days. It just depends. So definitely manage your time, make some decisions about if you're wanting to get quite that creative with it. And of course, one thing that would simplify it is if you limited the variety of flowers you got or limited the number of colors you were using. Sometimes simplicity does equal efficiency, but I'm me, and with Beltane, I want to use every single color of the rainbow, so I am creating my own difficulties with that. But if that's not you, don't be afraid to simplify just so that you can have something done beautiful that you did, that you put your energy into, but that didn't drive you stark gravy mad. Now, another idea for Beltane crafting is to create a fairy village in your garden. I saw some interesting ideas about someone. They took a chair, they painted it, weatherproofed it, stuck it in the garden, and then they planted seeds for vines to grow up around it so that eventually would become like a little, fairy teepee or something. But there are other ways you can do it. If you have larger plastic jugs or things that, you don't really have a use for, you can decorate them up. You can get crafting stones, glue them around there, get some bark, wrap it around, naturalize it. There's different things you can do, but you can create a little fairy house, or you can have a whole fairy village, depending on how much time and how many odds and ends you have lying around. But you can create something special, and you can have that in your garden. And if it's decently weatherproof, it'll last you for a little while, and that could also turn into a good place for you to meditate in if you're wanting to meditate outside more. Next idea. You can make, bake, and construct a cookie house, and then you can decorate it with flowers. This does require a little bit more skill, so obviously not everyone is going to feel inclined to do any such thing. But last Yule, I didn't get around to making, my little gingerbread house, and I've been feeling sad about it. So I think that may be something that I start doing in the coming days of making. I'll use the base of the gingerbread recipe, but I won't be adding in the gingerbread spices. I'll probably use something like orange or lemon, something a little bit more citrusy and fresh. But I'll do that, I'll bake it into the shape that I want, and then I'll make the candy glass, pour it into the windows, and then we have fun with construction. And I have found that there's few things that have been better for keeping cookie houses together other than a very stiff royal icing. However, other possibilities that people have used is melted chocolate. Some people I have seen have used caramel. You'll want to look into a little bit more about the specifics of doing that. I have found that royal icing is really a pretty good, reliable tool, so that is what I generally use. And then, once you have it together, it is time to decorate. And then you choose your colors. There's all kinds of different ways to put coloring into the frosting. And since this probably isn't going to really be for eating, you don't have to worry so much about, did you put in too much food coloring? Is the frosting now going to taste funny? You don't have to worry yourself about that. And then you can start looking at tutorials for how you can pipe flowers. It is a lot easier than what you might first suspect, so don't be intimidated. You don't need to have a whole bunch of tools to do this. Or you could even, I did this one year, I used paintbrushes and I actually painted on the decorations onto the house. So again, if you've got some time, or you're wanting to bake something, you're wanting to do something that is just frivolous and fun, this is a definite possibility for you. And if anyone else does this, please, please, please share pictures, because I love baking, I love decorating. It's a fun thing, and I think maybe we could all inspire each other with this. Next idea for Beltane crafting, you could embroider an altar cloth. in honor of the occasion. I recently found a cute embroidery pattern that has all these little gnomes and their little gnome houses. I'm making it onto an apron and I'm going to have it in my kitchen. But you could do something like that for an altar cloth, or you could embroider flowers. There's all kinds of patterns. You do not have to draw it on. If you had to draw it on, I would never do anything with embroidery. Obviously, it takes a little bit longer to do this, but if you have a simple design and you work on it in the evening after dinner, you might be surprised to how quickly these things can come together, especially if you're just doing simple stitching. So don't be overly intimidated. You can do that, and it's a nice thing to have. Other possibilities is maybe to get out your knitting needles or your crochet hook, and you can create an altar cloth or something that has, the Beltane colors that you're using, that you're planning to use for ritual or just to add to the Beltane atmosphere around the house. Use your crafting skills in a creative way, in ways that you might not necessarily have immediately thought of. Speaking of crafting skills, it might be fun to, if you are a candle maker, to make a special candle for Beltane. I've been scrolling through Pinterest looking for ideas on this, and I've seen some people, they made their candle and then they continually dipped that candle into different colors of wax. They would dip it, let it harden, dip it into another, let it harden, and then you had this nice pillar of a candle. But as it melted and the wax, it would drip down, and there was almost a rainbow-like effect with some of these things. So if that is your jam, that would be a very fun thing to do. It would be a very special touch to have on your altar for your Beltane ritual. And if you are very good at this, share your wisdom and knowledge with the rest of us. I haven't yet attempted candle making, but I am keen to try. This might be the year. We'll have to see. It depends on whether or not I can get the supplies in a timely fashion more than anything else. Another idea we might possibly do is to create our signature Beltane blend of incenses or oils. You could have some kind of unusual combinations. You could have a mix of bluebell, lilac, honeysuckle, but anything that's flowery and smells good and feels good, that's something to explore. Or if you're not really much on making incenses or oils, you could actually create your own tea blend. Probably start with a base of a black tea or a green tea, depending on what you prefer, but then add in some leaves of, dried leaves of blackberry, lavender, or even an Earl Grey tea, just to give it a little extra something. And then incorporate that. Maybe you make a pot of tea, and that can be part of your offering to the gods during your ritual. And then the last idea I want to bring to your attention is to create a nature-inspired Beltane mask. I've seen blank white molded masks at craft stores, and with a little imagination, with you can attach leaves to them, or flowers, or symbols, charms, whatever else, you can create something that's very special, very unique, and you can incorporate that into your celebrations. So as I said before, this is mostly about starting brainstorming and getting us all excited about doing something special for Beltane. Obviously, these ideas are not the end-all be-all, and I would love to hear about your own ideas. What do you do crafting-wise for Beltane, whether it's for purely decorative purposes or if it also has a little extra zhuzh of magical intention? Let me know. I'd love to hear about it. You could tell me in the comments section, or you could come visit us on Discord at Blackbird's Brew. There is a link to join in the description box below. I was recently informed that the old link wasn't working, so I will be refreshing that link so that we don't have any issues. So just click on that. It'll take you right to us, and then share your pictures, share your experiences, and let's get going with this. But I think that's it for now. I will see you in the next one. Bye!